So in regard to your recent letter to Governor Newsom, could you tell me a little bit what prompted you to take this action?
Yeah, no, look, thanks for having me on because it's critical that your viewers and everyone, in the Valley understands exactly what's happening in the Central Valley right now. For months, thousands of Sikh and Indian truck drivers have been racially targeted by a massive right-wing media that has vilified us as foreign menaces. They have obsessed over accidents involving Sikh and immigrant drivers, cherry picking those tragedies to paint a false and dangerous picture that brown people with turbans are a threat to public safety. As a knee jerk reaction to that propaganda, the Trump administration is trying to enforce new rules that would exclude nearly every visa holder from the trucking industry. Of the nearly 200,000 visa holding truck drivers in the United States, only 10,000 would be allowed to keep driving under these new rules, all to promote the narrative that foreigners are a threat to our country. The good news is that the courts have already told Trump he can't move forward with this exclusion policy because the data shows these drivers actually have significantly better safety records than the average driver. The courts also found that if you take these inexperienced drivers off the road and replace them with rookies, our highways actually become more dangerous. But while the courts block this federally, the administration has zeroed in on California. Why? Why California? Because half of all American Sikhs live here, and 40% of the truck drivers in California are Sikh. Politicians in Sacramento love to talk a big game about fighting Trump, but apparently, when Sikhs are the target, they are happy to take these marching orders federally. So California gave in to that federal pressure and sent notices to 17,000 truck drivers telling them their licenses will be revoked in 60 days. That means in 60 days, they lose their jobs, their trucks, and their financial certainty. You cannot tell me that this is a colorblind policy when nearly half of the people losing their jobs look like my brother, my father, and my uncles. My brother, father, and uncles wear turbans. California should not be the enforcement arm for this bigotry. This is clearly turban targeting. We should not let people like Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity dictate our labor policy. Look, during the pandemic, when the rest of the country was in lockdown, these were the drivers out there on the highways, risking their health to keep our food and medical supply chains moving. We called them heroes at one point, and the government begged them to keep driving so our economy wouldn't collapse. And now these same heroes are suddenly branded as a threat. And you know what? This same thing happened to healthcare professionals during COVID. During COVID-19, healthcare professionals were heroes. And now, with the cuts to the healthcare industry, now we're zeros. Look, none of this is about safety. It is about targeting a community of immigrants that we were happy to use when we needed them, and now we're discarding them for racist political convenience. This is where the governor needs to step up to this moment and needs to stop his DMV's exclusion policy immediately.
And I was just curious in just regards to your correspondence with the governor. I noticed you sent a letter. Is that normally how you'd correspond with the governor, or do you typically have more open channels to be able to just call the governor right up and opposed to like a letter sort of correspondence?
Look, there are paperwork issues that the DMV needs to work on. And if they can work on it, they can fix these issues with the drivers. But we need to not capitulate to xenophobic propaganda by bankrupting thousands of families in the Central Valley. Me writing a letter to the governor is that first step to make sure that he steps up in this moment and fixes what's happening at the DMV.
Specifically, what are you calling for? What action for the governor to take here?
He needs to address the issue that within 60 days licenses will be revoked. Like I said, there are paperwork issues. I agree. Anybody can say that. But that's where we need to work with the community, work with the drivers to fix it, not just give in to federal pressures and just say you're out of a job.